Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolutely fascinating story about what it's like to ride a massive business roller coaster. It's a tale of a company that went public at, well, the worst possible time, then rode an unbelievable boom, and is now trying to pivot to survive the bust that always follows. So that's really the big question, right? How do you build a business on a roller coaster? I mean, just imagine it. Your entire company is built around one single product, but the price of that product is totally out of your hands. It just swings wildly depending on what's happening in the world. So how do you plan for that? How do you even survive? Well, let's find out. To get some answers, let's meet the main character of our story. It's an Indonesian company called PT Dana Brata Luhur. Now, you might see it on the stock exchange under the ticker TEBE, but for our purposes, we're just going to call them DBL. Okay, so DBL's business model is pretty cool because they're not actually the ones digging coal out of the ground. No. They own the absolutely critical infrastructure for the miners. You should really think of them as the toll road operator for the coal industry. Through a key subsidiary, they run a 46-kilometer road and a special port. It's basically an essential superhighway to get coal from all these different mines in South Kalimantan out to the rest of the world. And that link, that is how they make their money. So DBL has this critical piece of infrastructure. And they decide, you know what? The time is right. Let's go public. Let's raise some capital. The timing, however, hoo boy, it could not have been worse. Just look at this sequence of events. It is a recipe for a perfect storm. So mid-2018, DBL gets its main asset. A little over a year later, November 2019, pop the champagne, they have their IPO. And then, just 4 months after that, the entire world shuts down. The global economy basically grinds to a halt, and of course, demand for energy commodities like coal just falls off a cliff. And here's the kicker. They were already in a tough spot. Even before the pandemic really hit, the company was struggling. In 2019, the same year they went public, they posted a pre-tax loss of over 21 billion rupiah. I mean, can you imagine that? You're a brand new public company, you're already losing money, and now you're staring down the barrel of a global crisis. But then, just when things looked about as bleak as they could get, the world changed again. And this time, DBL found itself on the receiving end of a massive, and I mean massive, unexpected tailwind. All of a sudden, events happening halfway across the globe completely turned DBL's fortunes around. The conflict in Ukraine, plus all this other supply chain chaos, created a huge energy crunch. Countries in Europe were desperate for coal, and that sent prices just skyrocketing to record levels. Now, if you're the company that runs the coal superhighway, this is like every single car on your road is suddenly willing to pay a $1,000 toll. And the result was, well, it was astonishing. The company went from that 21.4 billion rupiah loss in 2019 to a jaw-dropping 423.1 billion rupiah profit just 3 years later. This wasn't just a recovery. This was an absolute explosion of profit, and it was driven entirely by the soaring price of the stuff they helped move. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The company itself knew how wild this was. In their own 2022 annual report, they basically said, we managed to surpass most of our financial targets. I mean, yeah, it was a boom time, pure and simple, and they were riding that wave perfectly. But, anyone who's ever been to the beach knows that every wave, no matter how big it is, it always recedes. That commodity roller coaster, it only goes up for so long. And that correction, it came fast. As global energy markets started to stabilize in 2023, those crazy high coal prices came back down to earth. And for DBL, the result was a 32% drop in their net profit in a single year. Now, they were still making money, for sure, but it was a very sharp reminder of a hard lesson. What the global market gives you, the global market can absolutely take away. So now what? You've experienced the highest of highs, and you've had that sobering reality check of a market correction. What's DBL's next move? How do you possibly build a stable future on such shaky ground? They knew they had to find a way off the ride, but without crashing. They couldn't just sit around and wait for the next wave to come. they had to build something new. In other words, they had to diversify. And their big strategic answer came in 2024. One of their key subsidiaries got a brand new designation from Indonesia's Ministry of Transportation. It was no longer just a special terminal for coal, it was now officially a public port. And that one little change, it was a complete game changer because it totally transformed what they were legally allowed to do. This new status completely unlocked their business. All of a sudden, their revenue wasn't chained to the price of coal anymore. Their port could now start servicing the region's massive palm oil industry. They could handle cement for all kinds of construction projects. They could move standard shipping containers. I mean, every single new type of cargo is a new stream of revenue, a new buffer against the crazy volatility of any one single commodity. All right, so let's zoom out for a second. What does DBL's wild ride actually teach us about this kind of business? What's the takeaway here? Well, their whole journey is just a perfect case study of the commodity business cycle. Step 1, you build these really expensive, really specialized assets. Step 2, your fortunes are then completely tied to global prices that you have zero control over. Step 3, you experience these incredible massive booms and these really painful busts. And ultimately, step 4, the only real way to create lasting stability is to break that dependency and diversify. You see, DBL's story isn't just about getting lucky. It's really about resilience. They survived a truly terrible IPO launch. They capitalized on an unexpected boom, and now they're using those boom time profits to strategically pivot their entire business toward a much more stable, diversified future. It's a masterclass, really. And this whole story leaves us with a final, much bigger question. As the world talks more and more about shifting away from fossil fuels, DBL's pivot might not just be smart business, it might be necessary for their very survival. For any company whose infrastructure is tied to a single energy source, is this kind of diversification the only real path forward? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.